Cigar Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm Brad Jackson.
So what are we smoking this week?
This week we have the Nasser?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, maybe cigars. This is called
The Goat.
The Goat. Nice freaking goat label there on the camera. But this is a AJ Fernandez blend with a premium AJ Fernandez price tag.
Yeah, it's like AJ don't miss though. So I'm like, if I see that tag of like by AJ Fernandez, it's like I don't care what brand of cigar it is. I'm like, oh, it's got an AJ label on it. That's probably gonna be pretty fucking good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
And we've got a Mexican San Andreas wrapper over Corojo, Nicaraguan binder, and a Nicaraguan filler blend from Esteli and Jalapa.
yeah, and this is I mean, it's what you would expect out of a Nicaraguan cigar, and I love to see this, especially after the fire at the AJ factory, and everything else. Like, I'm glad to see that he's able to still team up. Things are still happening, and this was an interesting blend. Pre-light, just taking a couple of dry draw. There was some almost like some dried fruit notes. Just my initial take. I think I'm probably a medium, possibly medium plus with a fair amount of complexity so far. Like I have a feeling in AJ fashion, the more that I smoke this, probably the more complexity that's going to come out of it.
Yeah, apparently this started off as a shop exclusive for a cigar shop in Haiti, but it became such high demand that it demanded a international release. So, yeah, now we can all enjoy the Goat along with the rest of the world.
Maybe it's because I had goats as a kid, but just love all things goat, and the freaking goat label just is awesome.
I need to go up to that whatever goat's on the roof and just smoke one of these in front of the... It's like I'm smoking a goat with a goat. Go do that fucking whatever goat yoga, but I don't think they'll let you smoke at the goat yoga.
Maybe do a post goat yoga smoke. Does that work?
Yeah, or if you ever watch the movie Waiting, give someone the goat while smoking a goat.
That is it wasn't too many years ago that I could have seen that being a real possibility.
Yeah, then we got old and got tired of showing people our balls. It becomes less fun and cheeky when you're in your 40s.
Or it just becomes more cheeky.
And saggy. Oh, the bat wing got bigger.
Yeah, that's all that's there. It's just a wing.
Oh. But yeah, so while we're talking the goat, we're going to be talking about a new series based on a kind of one of our favorite book series. We're talking The Terminalist Dark Wolf. I couldn't find a wolf cigar though, so we went with the goat. And if you've got to fight off Iranian terrorists, you should call in the Strike Force. StrikeForceEnergy.com. Use your promo code Cigar Nerds for 20% off your order. Yeah, and they come in little tin pouches, so it's easy to run away with them if you've got to go live off the grid.
Yeah, and off the grid. I don't know. Just great series. I can't wait till we get into the main segment.
Oh yeah, this is probably gonna be one where we don't struggle to fill an hour. We may struggle to not go over because it's been so long since season 1 that like this new kind of installment was like, oh my god, I forgot how amazing this was.
And it's just such a phenomenal book series too. But
yeah.
These are all things that I think
we'll talk about in the main segment. So we'll be right back. And welcome back. It's time to get into Terminalist, the Dark Wolf. I was going to say season 1, but I don't know if this is going to be standalone prequel or if they're going to get a second season of it, because there is kind of more story to tell, because, and we'll kind of get into everything, because Terminal List Season 1, Ben Edwards, James Reese's best friend, played by Taylor Kitsch, ends up betraying him, and he is part, he's a former SEAL who apparently got kicked out at some point and now works for the CIA. And this is his origin story, showing like kind of how he left the SEALs and what series of events led him to joining the CIA. But it kind of ends with him joining the CIA, and we don't get to see that kind of transition of how he went to the dark side. So we could do a season 1 showing how he became part, or a season 2 showing how he became part of the conspiracy that takes place in Terminal List Season 1. So, I mean, there is kind of a potential for a season 2 story if they decide to go that route.
I think, and I haven't looked at reviews or anything else on this.
So far, it's in the top 10 on Amazon.
So, I can say from my...
It's so good that like people have been going back and watching the Terminal List. So now both Dark Wolf and the original Terminal List are back in the top 10 on Prime right now.
It's almost like that was by design.
Yeah.
But, that was my take, was out of everything that Amazon has done, like those two, and the book series weighs very heavily on my influence. But the fact that, they keep bringing Jack Carr into the mix and everything else, like...
Yeah, because I know I think just finished filming season 2 of The Terminalist, and Jack Carr was like a full-time writer on this upcoming season. And I'm pretty sure he was the main writer for the first episode of this series. So he's, involved a lot more in the writing of the show than he was in the first season.
And I feel like that in itself is amazing, because there's a lot of times, like, authors that write can sometimes do really great at books where they're not necessarily on a time restraint or, that sort of thing. So, they sort of have an endless amount of pages that they can sort of flush out, right? But then you do something on TV,
what you can do in the time,
then all of a sudden it's like, man, you are such a great writer, but your screenplay kind of, and here, no, there's none of that. Like, I am just as hooked on the series on Amazon as I am, the damn books.
So yeah, the first episode and the last episode were both written by Jack Carr and David DeGilio, who is the showrunner. And the episode, which was probably my other favorite episode, the episode right before the last episode, was actually written by Jared Shaw and Max Adams. And Jared Shaw, he's like the technical advisor and producer on season 1, but he was also an actual Navy SEAL who was friends with Jack Carr, and he plays Boozer in the series as well. So yeah, it's cool to see him writing some stuff.
And maybe that's what makes the series so great, is you have people, actually that have walked in those shoes.
Yeah.
And you're not really like, dude, we've said it many times, like in the book series, and I'm surprised we didn't get more of that in, kind of Dark Wolf. I think maybe in Terminal List we got it somewhat, where it's just like, dude, are you fucking repping Aimpoint and, all these different gun manufacturers, accessory manufacturers, and
he goes into some detail.
Yeah.
I mean, and it works, because that's the whole reason I bought a Terran Tactical Glock 19, is because Chris Pratt uses a Terran Tactical Glock 19 in the first season of the Terminal List. And now I want one of these BCM carbines that Taylor Kitsch was using through most of this series. I'm like, yeah, for a gun guy, the level of detail, and not only that, when you look at Jack does a good job of it in his books, but on the show, constantly I'm looking at guns in movies and be like, man, no one would run that setup. Like, hell, this dude's not even got fucking optics on his rifle. But the attention to detail, everything I saw, I'm like, yeah, I could see someone running this setup in real life. I mean, it's they spend a lot of time making sure the firearms are correct in these, not only firearms but the tactics, like how they're shooting, how they're moving. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are believable gunfighters because the tactics they're using is like on point.
And dude, seeing some of the team dynamics in Dark Wolf this go round, I'm like, holy shit! Like, it's just, I mean, we all know that slow is smooth and smooth is fast, but like seeing shit in, like, even though it's designed for the screen, I'm just like, holy fuck, like.
Yeah, and we'll kind of get into it when we get to that episode, but for years the shootout in what the hell is it with Val Kilmer and Al Pacino and De Niro.
Oh fuck!
But the it's not Narcos. Fucking, and my brain is like completely.
Yeah, well, like I could see where your thought was going, and then I completely bricked on it too, and I'm like,
that the retreat scene where when they get ambushed outside Heat. Yeah, Heat was what I was trying to think of. That gunfight outside of the bank where they're like shooting and retreating. They like show that video to like people in training because that's supposedly like one of the most realistic retreats under fire that's been in cinema. But the scene where they steal the bearings from what they think are terrorists turns out to be German security guys, and they get ambushed, and that like them like breaking out of the ambush and like retreating, like that could be the new like textbook like retreating under fire fucking example, because I mean that was like some legit tactics going on in that scene. I was like, that's just fucking amazing.
Yeah, there was a lot that kind of blew my mind with this, and like I'm becoming more and more of a cynic as I get older. I'm pretty sure I've expressed this already, but
what, really?
these series like this where it's like, oh yeah, just all kinds of level up corruption throughout all these 3-letter agencies, and I'm like, this is not doing anything to make me feel better about the puppet masters in DC, or your world stage actors for that matter.
And I kind of like they did this series because, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it when we talked about the Terminal List. Ben Edwards in the TV series is so much different than Ben Edwards in the books. In the book, he's clearly much more of a bad guy. Like in the book, he's the one when Reese goes to kill the last people on his list, he's there holding Katie hostage, and he's like a key member of the conspiracy and was basically, had gotten, went to the dark side and took all kind of money and was part of this whole thing and was like basically helping him with his revenge so he could like kind of eliminate his co-conspirators so he could keep all the money. Where in the Terminalist, the series, he shows up and helps him kind of out of guilt and tells him like, he doesn't find out that he's like a member of the conspiracy till like the very end. And he's like, the reason why I did this is they brought me in after y'all had already taken the drugs, and I'm the one that set up the team to get killed because I wanted to let y'all go out like men, like, and die with your boots on instead of dying in some kind of hospital. They told me y'all were already dead, and so I just wanted to give y'all that Viking, trip to Valhalla, and I had nothing to do with your family getting killed, so that's why like I helped you, but ultimately this is still my fault because I should have like stopped the conspiracy as soon as they came to me, but I didn't spend any of the money they gave me, and like I said, I was literally trying to like to basically put y'all out of your misery, and then all of this shit went south. So he was much more of a likable character in the series than the book, so I'm glad they kind of gave him an origin story to see how he kind of started going to that area. Because like, by the he's very like hopeful and loyal in the beginning, and by the end he's, like you said, kind of very cynical, and he's like doesn't trust the government anymore. He's like, he's like, I'm here because I'm loyal to the teams, and at the end he's like, I'm here because this is where I'm meant to be. He's just like, you could see that guy willing to do a little more dark shit at the end of the series than he was at the beginning of the series.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there was definitely that level of progression, but I don't know, just.
But yeah, I like that they've kind of evolved him into a more tragic character than the like straight up villain he was in the books. And that's the thing I liked about this series is, even though the story is different in the series than the books, there's enough of that, I guess, outline that it's like, all right, I can kind of know what's going on. They may have changed the details a little bit here and there, but basically it's still the same overall story, which this was never based on a book. I mean, we heard about, him and Rafe getting kicked out of the SEALs for, killing somebody they shouldn't have because it was the right thing to do. But but most of the details of this series isn't from the books. So it's like, I was never like, oh, I know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool watching this, like,
well,
just
and
with fresh eyes.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big things was, like you said, there were similarities, things that you sort of felt familiar with, but then again, like, this not being based, it's like, oh, I've got no pretense or anything, and it just, I don't know, man. Like, it was one of those, like, even, like, there's sometimes I come home and I'm like, last thing I want to do is look at a fucking phone screen. And, I was like, all right, Rachel's getting ready to go to bed. I'm fucking turning on Terminal List. Like,
and this series also introduced several new characters that we know from the books, and it's kind of cool seeing them in real life. Now, top of the line is Lieutenant Rafe Hastings,
yes.
Played by Tom Hopper, which becomes a big character in the books later on. And it was cool seeing him in like real life. It was, and talking about his Rhodesian wisdom that like, now if I read the books, I'm just going to hear, like, I'm used to hearing Rafe Hastings as what a Ray Porter's version of him in the audiobooks, but it's like, now I'm going to have like fucking Tom Hopper's voice in my head.
That's going to be a weird thing. Like, and I don't know, like, that was another reason why the books, especially the audiobooks were so great, was just, Ray Porter's narration and portrayal of characters and the production value that just went into, that side of things. But yeah, now my brain's going to be like, that's not the voice I'm used to hearing.
Yeah, we also get to meet Jules Landry, played by Luke Hemsworth, and you kind of see him. I mean, he's kind of a part of the team in this, but if you read the books, he's going to kind of pop up more in the next season of Terminal List and much more of a dirtbag. But you get to see some of those dirtbag tendencies, especially when he tries to molest our Mossad agents. And then also Mo Farouk, who is an Iraqi special operations guy who fought alongside Reese and Ben, who then also joins this CIA Black Ops team. And you see him as like he's actually like a really good dude. Like, he kind of gets caught up later on in the books and tricked to being a bad dude that then turns around and becomes a good guy again. But yeah, he's like, they send him to like assassinate that girl, and he's just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. He's like, I'm gonna scare the fuck out of her. She's not a player.
Yeah, she's not
this.
tied to her father and is not an active threat. But I don't know, like, this series did, and I don't know how much of it was just freaking movie magic or whatnot. But it's like, yep, literally cameras and fucking microphones everywhere. Literally. Yeah,
it's like fucking I mean, we talked talked a little bit about that when we were talking to the cybersecurity guy at DragonCon, and I'm like, yeah, does privacy even like actually exist anymore? Or it's like fucking if it's got a microphone and a speaker on it, somebody's fucking listening somewhere.
Well, I just say that, like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm getting real cynical. I'm probably gonna start asking a lot of dangerous questions, and I'll end up in a damn CIA black site. Be like, fucking bald dude from Dawsonville, like, done figured some shit out.
Oh, so yeah, this starts off with kind of a pretty badass firefight. Where Ben and his team, which is Charlie Platoon, aka SEAL Team 5, assisting Iraqi forces with basically like a prisoner exchange, looking for a Muhammad al-Jabari.
Yeah, whatever happened to that thing we don't negotiate with terrorists? Because it seems like anytime you try to negotiate with terrorists, they do what terrorists do. And have no moral compass or regards.
Yeah, but that like ambush on the bridge. And
oh yeah, dude! Like
the fucking boats roll up and start smoking dudes. I was like, get on the fitty. But they're planning a whatchamacallit, to go after al-Jabari, and turns out dude captures one of their like Iraqi teammates who got his leg blown off in that firefight, and uses his kind of family as leverage, and he has to like go in and set off a suicide bomb in the American base. But then afterward, they won't let Rafe and Ben and their team go after al-Jabari because they find out he's a fucking CIA asset. And they're like, well, fuck this. Like, we're going to run a separate mission and just accidentally find this dude.
And fucking oust him to, fucking ISIS.
So if he gets, like, released again, there'll be proof that he's dirty or he's, a snitch. And then we'll just let ISIS kill him instead of us. But once they go in and capture him, Ben sees, like, his buddy's daughter has been, like, turned into a part of this dude's harem, and he's like, nah, I ain't letting that stand, and fucking, blows his head off. And Reese and Rafe try to, like, cover for him, but he's like, nah, guys, I did that shit. I'm gonna admit to it. And while they don't end up getting arrested for it, they both get, they end up taking him and Race's, Rafe gets kind of, since he's an officer, gets not a dishonorable discharge, but like a less than honorable, like a
general discharge,
which isn't good. And then Ben gets his trident taken, and is going to be like a fucking quartermaster, working on basically stuck behind the desk for the rest of his career. And as they kind of head home, on their way home, they're chilling in Germany and decide, let's go have a beer. And then we get this Jed Havard, who's a CIA operative working anti-Iranian stuff, shows up and like, hey boys, I've got a mission. I need a couple gunslingers, and y'all just happen to be free. Y'all come work for me. It's one mission, and I'll kind of clear your names. And if you still want to retire, you'll retire with honors, and whatever. I'm gonna help you. You help me out, I'll help you boys out.
What a great casting for his character too.
Yeah,
like that was one character that I'm like, God damn it! Like, you could be likable at times, and I fucking hate you at other times. Like,
yeah, he's one of those. I mean, he's like, so you're like, all right, yeah, this guy's like, because they dealt with some like dirtbag CIA guys previously, and you're like, this guy. He's like an like military guy. He seems like he's been in the shit. This might be a CIA agent you can trust. And then he's like, he's a little shady. Yeah, and he played a good job of towing that line. And even when you ultimately, spoiler alert, find out he's kind of the bad guy in this, his reasoning behind it was, he's like, dude, like, I've been around since the Beirut Marine barracks bombing. Like, I want to take down Iran. the U.S. won't do it, so I'm trying to force us into a war with Iran so we can finally wipe these motherfuckers off the table. So he's like one of those, like, said, I always like a bad guy who thinks he's the good guy.
Yeah.
They're much more interesting characters, and yeah, you see that with him. He's like, you know, yeah, I'm doing bad shit, but I'm doing it for what I think is a good reason. Because if we finally get a nuclear-powered Iran, then we're going to have to fuck those people up. You know? It's just a matter of time.
War games.
Yeah.
Like,
and we got a little bit of a James Bond action where they're like, all right, our first target is this, you know, weapons dude, but we want to find out who he's talking to and where the money's going. And you get, you know, Rafe and Ben all like in fucking tuxedos in a shady nightclub. And I like, you know, their how was it, Ali, or what was her name, the Mossad operator, because this is a joint Mossad CIA operation, and their plan is basically they're going to, someone is making parts needed to make nuclear weapons, and they're going to basically give them sabotaged parts.
and I want to talk about that for just a second. Because anytime, like, people like, yeah, we got to stop them from getting nukes. Like, I'm always thinking, like, enriched uranium and other stuff. I'm not thinking, like, oh, yeah, shit that actually can, you know, make their centrifuges go faster and whatnot. So, you know, here we're talking about fucking bearings. Like,
yeah, so it's not like your usual, like,
exactly.
oh, it's you know, radioactive material. Like, no, we need high-speed bearings for our centrifuges to be able to weaponize the uranium that we already have. I was like, all right, that's interesting. And it's like, you know, a thing that's, I guess, a lot easier to transport.
That's where me as a be like, yep, and that's why I'm not a scientist. Like, I always think about just, oh yeah, green glowy shit, go boom, is bad. And now it's like, oh, yeah. Like, there's a whole lot of processes and other things that have to happen leading up to that. So that, to me, I thought was kind of cool. Because, you know, normally it's like, oh yeah, we got little vials of glowing, you know, radioactive material. And
Tal was the that operator. But, you know, being cigar guys, there's a lot of cigars in this. I didn't do enough research to find out what they're smoking. Probably some what the hell's that military cigar company? Hoot and Young. Probably some Hoot and Youngs. We know Jack's a fan of those.
not Kirka.
Yeah, but they're like, you know, at the bar, and she brings them like a humidor, and it's like, you boys look like you would like some cigars, and open it up, and it's got the suppressed pistols in there, and it's like, oh yeah, that's like, they should have thrown a couple cigars in there too for the fire up our cigars and get ready to do some work.
I mean, she did just lift out the tray, and, you know, below the cigars are where the fun stuff is.
Yeah.
But I do like too, like, you know, our first take at the bad guy in the club, and, you know, the waitress is trying to be, sir, drinks on the house, sir, drinks on, and he's like, no,
I don't drink. It's like, we have a water.
Yeah, and
like,
you know,
because their plan is they're going to like basically knock him out and kidnap him so they can question him, and he's like refuses to drink the.
It's like nobody goes into a bar and be like, oh yeah, here, enjoy a free drink, and like, to me, I'm like, yeah, that's why I could never be like, you know, an international bad guy or anything, because I'd be like, fucking free drink.
But when you think about it, you're assuming this guy is a Muslim terrorist, and super devout Muslims, I don't think, drink. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna give him a cocktail with poison in it, and it's like, you're talking to a dude who probably doesn't drink. You know, probably should have come up with a better way to, you know, maybe lace his hookah, and they're gonna, you know, smoke a hookah or something, or, you know, figure out a different way to dose him. But yeah, offering him a drink with stuff in it, probably not the best idea.
I had a comment, but it would be reserved for the terrorist. But I'm gonna save it for off air.
Now I'm just thinking of what like racist thing you're about to say. Oh,
only if you're a terroristic piece of shit.
But yeah, that, you know, when that all kind of goes to shit and they're having to pursue them. And I like kind of previously, Ben's all in for this because he's like, I want to take down that, motherfucker who was kind of in charge of to protect the boys. Where Wraith's like, dude, he's like, there's an old Rhodesian saying where some men go to war to fight the enemy, and then other men find war to fight themselves. I don't know why he's Irish now. I don't do a good Rhodesian accent, but he's like, all right, I'll agree to this mission, but I got to know that I think you're kind of wound up and you're liable to go off the rails again. I got to know where the brakes are. And he's like, yeah, of course I am. And then getting that whole running shootout with that dude, trying to capture him, and then like Rafe ends up just beating the fuck out of the guy at the end. And Ben just looks at him. He's like, there are no fucking brakes, brother. And the amount of the times use of the word brother in this series.
Well, I mean, that is, just it, man. I mean, it is a fucking brotherhood, but
it's kind of like when they showed like the edit of movies where it's like, we're just going to show all the times they say fuck, and it's like they can do that with this, with just all the times like where it says brother.
dude, I'm just thinking, like, we're 30 minutes in, and we just now got past the first episode. This is going to be a 3-hour-long segment. It's going to be amazing.
Well, the intel they get from this mission clues them in on the whole, like, Iranian trying to get these bearings and whatnot. And so now I'm like, all right, now we're going to bring in couple more guys. They add Jules to the team. They add another guy, and they add Mo, because they're like, all right, we took this dude out, and we don't think his contact has ever met him face to face. So we need a brown guy to to blend in. So I've worked with Mo before. We bring in Mo in and then they also we've got Val and the other Mossad agent who's more of the. Well, Val's like a seasoned field agent. The other one is more of a techie who's just now kind of getting into the field. Oh yeah, and I like we didn't get to see him face to face, but another one of my favorite characters in the book is Rafe's dad. Like, fucking Hastings Sr. is a bad motherfucker, and we got to hear him on the phone, so hopefully we'll get to see him in some of the upcoming seasons.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Like,
I wonder if they're gonna do how Mo kills Landry and True Believer. If
I don't know, man. This is pretty dark. It gets pretty gritty. Like,
the torture scenes in the book get like worse every one, and the way they kill Landry is, yeah, it made me feel things. I don't know if they're gonna go that route, and
I mean, I was kind of surprised. We got one scene, but like, I don't know, something about reading it in words and what your brain does visually. I'm like, and isn't it crazy to like even be like, oh yeah, I'm watching this show and I'm watching, one guy torture another, and like, is it weird that it's like I'm not even being fazed by that? Like, I don't have any like, oh, that's disgusting, like, are anything like, dude, us as humans, we kind of suck sometimes.
Yeah, when we get to the mission of them stealing the bearings, mission goes off fine, and then they get ambushed, and they have all kind of got to split their separate ways. Mo gets hit, so Landry's like, he's like, get Mo out of here, get him some help. Rafe ends up like, too hot. I'm gonna do my own exfil, and he ends up capturing one of the guys, and we start seeing him kind of. And this whole series also kind of like clues in a little bit of Rafe's backstory, where now I understand why in the books he's so distrustful of the CIA. I'm like, makes sense after seeing what he went through in this series. But yeah, like him, who's the one who's kind of like, trying to be the good guy, like him having to like torture dude to find out who fucking ambushed him, and then finding out that he's like
a fucking friendly and an ally.
Yeah, like they've been set up in some way. And then, Ben getting shot in the back by Val, and it's like, oh, the Mossad's actually running, and they're like, and when they kind of, he tracks her down, and she's like, hey, I've got my own mission here. We don't trust your boss either. His like whatever contact in the Iranian is like codenamed Shepard. Like, we think he's feeding him bad intel. Like, so our mission is to find out who this fucking Shepard guy is.
Time to go herding sheep, boys.
Yeah, and them two just keep getting kind of ambushes. They're trying to fight their way back home, and that, when you think it's kind of all good, like people pulling up on the motorcycle and dropping a bomb on the roof of the fucking car and blowing them up. Yeah, when he gets back to the base and he's like, what the fuck's going on, boss? And he's like, oh, no, the Shepard, he gave us bad intel. He's the one that got you all ambushed. And here, conveniently.
I just so happen to have dealt with the Shepard.
Yeah, I have him, and let me shoot him in the face while he, calls his contact to, set up this meeting to sell the bearings so we can kind of keep this mission going. Yeah, conveniently. But the fight after that, where Rafe's like, no, I'm out. This is too much. I don't trust this motherfucker. Like, if you follow this, down this path, you're going to end up in a body bag. And he's like, I got to do what I got to do. If you got to leave, you got to leave. And him, Mo, and Landry go to exchange the bearings while the other Mossad agent, is continuing to kind of like track their secret communications, and she finds out, like, wait a minute, he's still communicating with the Shepard beyond the time that the Shepard was supposed to have been dead. So
yeah, like this episode, man, like fucking shit really started to get although I do have a little bit of a gripe, but we'll get there when we get there.
When they show up at the airfield to make the exchange, and it's like just three of them, like, and like 20 security guys, and they're like, fuck, we can't do shit. And they're like, and like the actual like foreign ministers there, he's like, no, let us test these bearings, make sure they're correct. And they're like, oh fuck, we're about to, they're all like tensing up on their guns.
Yeah.
Like, they're about to find out these fakes, and we're gonna shoot our way out of here. And they're like, oh no, these are real. And they all get back in the car, and they're like watching, and they're like, what the fuck do we do, Chief? And he's like, those were real. Like, so, who fucked us? And then they get the text from like, hey, the Shepard's alive, and your boy's with him. Like, he's dirty. Don't trust him. And they're like, are we really going to let Iran have like nuclear stuff? And then he's like, even a pawn can take down a king. Let's do it. And they're like,
and I love that
like,
line,
fuck, okay.
For the fucking title, pawns and kings, and that's the beauty of chess. That shit is so true.
And by that time, all the bad guys are on the plane, so it's like Landry's just like, it's gonna be like shooting fish in a barrel, and Mo's like, take out the tires, and of course, when like any mission where stealth is not an option, let's grab the fucking belt fed. Ben just comes out of the trunk with the fucking saw, and they just like shoot the fuck out of that plane.
I do want to state for the rec, was that not the world's slowest plane takeoff in the world though? Like,
we're just gonna taxi a little bit. Our tires are blown out. And then we're just fucking strafe the fuck out of that plane.
But all it takes is the push of that button.
Yeah, and whatever. Hafford and Shepard's on the phone with the dude, and they're like, "Oh yes, it worked. We're gonna have a nuclear powered Iran." All of a sudden, they're like, and they're like, fuck, what's going on?
Sit rep.
And I like the dude's got the suitcase with the stuff like, handcuffed to him, and he's already lost like one hand, and fucking Ben, he's already fucked up. Ben doesn't even kill him. He walks in there, like, puts a safety around any guys that are still crawling. Then he walks up to that dude and like shoots him in the wrist and like cuts off his good hand, and then just like lets him, fucking bleed out from there. But that, like, just like looking him in the face as he's like cutting his fucking hand off, like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I going back to that exchange too. Like, I kind of love that line where it's like, you American, selling out your country. You should have asked for a lot more money. Like,
yeah. And he's like, yeah, fuck you. And that, too, because, like, when, Rafe and Ben almost threatened to kill Landry when he, like, when he's messing with the girl, when they show up for that, kind of go on that mission, he's like, hey, man, like, we had our thing, but you got Mo to safety and saved his ass, so, yeah, you're part of the team. Like, you showed you can be counted on. Yeah. He'll go dark side later on, but yeah, that fucking shootout in the plane was probably one of my favorite action sequences.
I don't,
And also the reveal that Rafe, like, even though he didn't want to be a part of it, he was still on Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make sure they.
Yeah, at the
they
end
make
of the
it
day,
through
they're
this.
still my brothers,
Yeah.
and
I don't agree with the mission, but I'm gonna sit here and watch through my sniper rifle just in case they need me. And he's like, fair winds, brother. There, my Rhodesian's getting better.
you're learning.
Yeah.
Before long, we'll have you a fucking rifle in your hand.
Oh.
You'd be like, look, you're just going right out there. You're carrying a briefcase. You're gonna be all right. Okay, Joe. Here I go.
Oh. But then that
It's really bad, Joe.
final episode where the gear up montage and you see, like, it's like 2 months later, because of course, homeboy, like, when everything goes south, like, writes a letter to the CIA like, hey, I was running this operation and these 4 dudes went rogue and they tried to arm the Iranians and they still got the thing. We should consider them armed and dangerous, and so they've got no evidence to defend themselves, but they got a plan, because homegirl still has access to the network, and she's like, if we can get them to talk again, I can hack it and get all the information we need to clear everybody's name. And he sends Mo and Landry away and is like, y'all stand down, because if it goes south, she's going to need y'all's help. I got this on my own. And he has that last conversation with, because Reese and the boys are just happen to be in Germany where he's hiding out and, like, getting ready to go home. And he's like, hey, man, I just wanted to call you, say, like, appreciate you, just in case, things go bad. And he's like, hey, you don't have to carry this weight alone. I read your letter. And he's like, yeah, it's all good. And then she's like, I need 15 minutes. He's like, I might be able to give you 10. She's like, got to be 15. Like, all right. But you said fucking gear up of him, like, prepping it reminded me of the last Rambo movie where he was, like, just fortifying his fucking house and shit. Yeah. And setting up all the booby traps, because he had, like,
the propane tanks buried, the fucking, explosive charges that were absolutely pointed towards enemy. But just, it's kind of cool just watching all that shit be improvised.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just...
And now he had, like, fallback positions with, like, extra guns, extra ammo, like, at each, like, position. Like, once he had to move, he had somewhere to move. Like, it was all, like, plotted out, like, several, steps ahead. And then, she tells us, like, all right, unplug your VPN. As soon as you send a text, they're going to find you. So he's like, all right. And he texts Reese's one last time, like, long live the Brotherhood, and then just fucking sits on his porch, puts on the record player, starts playing some Pink Floyd, and sitting on the porch having a cigarette, waiting for the bad guys to show up.
And I've always been a Pink Floyd fan, but goddamn, like, something about this whole fucking battle sequence to fucking brain damage. Like,
yeah,
dude, if there's nothing,
such a chill song to such fucking violent action. I was like, that just kind of. The dichotomy of those two was so cool.
But if nothing else, by far, probably one of the greatest soundtracks out of a fucking television series.
And I feel like James Reese is much more of a country guy, and I think it was like a lot more country and shit in Terminalist, where this Ben's a lot more of like an old rocker dude. So there's like a lot more like Skinner covers and Pink Floyd, and uses like such a different soundtrack
That
from the other series.
A perfect circle with damn Judas as the montage. I'm like, God damn it, like.
But yeah, that him in the upstairs the cabin with the belt fed, like with his like detonator on the handguard, so you didn't have to like take off the gun. He's just little closer, boom, and then just like one dude taking on like what 25, 30 guys. Just the only kind of tactical mistake I thought he made was it's an open field and there's this little brick wall. Obviously, they're going to use that for cover. He probably should have run some explosive along that wall because he could have just fucked those dudes up. Unless, like I said, he needed to make this last 15 minutes. He's like, if I blow everybody up like immediately, they're not going to stay on the phone like communicating with base. So I've got to let this. I got to let this go for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
if he'd have blown that wall, he'd have like fucked them all up.
I think it was kind of a way, to scatter. One guy can take a group of 5, in a concentrated area, knowing that, hey, these guys are probably going to go elsewhere and try to get on my flank. So, while they do that, I'm going to try to fucking double bluff and...
Yeah, fucking retreats into the basement of the thing, leaves his phone there so they think he's still in the cabin, setting up a booby trap while he's like going through a fucking tunnel to like his secondary fighting position, and just like blows like up half the dudes in the house. Then when the other guys start flanking, he's got fucking homemade claymores in the barn, fucking those dudes up. And then finally he starts getting kind of flanked and has to retreat to his like third fighting position that's like out in the woods, and he's got like a little foxhole set up with like a couple grenades and more magazines, and but he gets kind of shot in the back as he's moving to his secondary position. So sounds like he's got a collapsed lung, probably some pneumothorax stuff going on. So he's like looking at his watch. He's like 3 more minutes. He's like, oh fuck, like I'm about to die. And then you get that one guy's like, I'm gonna finish this, and he like flanks around to get the high ground, and then you just see the shadow of the fucking Winkler tomahawk come up, and just right in that dude's neck, and it's like, and there's fucking Reese, and it's like execute, and then fucking Alpha Team like shows up, and it's like Rafe, Boozer, and a couple other guys, or not Rafe, Reese, Boozer, and a couple other guys just show up and just start murking the fuck out of the remaining guys, and it's like, you see Ben just like, those motherfuckers are stealing my blaze of glory. I was gonna die here in a blaze. And he's kind of looked annoyed that he was being saved.
But dude, just like I almost got fucking chills when it cut and you see the fucking Winkler there, and I'm like, God, like,
I so want to buy one of
those. Just so menacing, like.
One of these days, I'm getting a fucking Winkler. That thing was so. And like he wakes up from after he kind of passed out, and he's like, I must be really fucked up if you're the one having to treat me. You didn't bring a better medic than... He's like, shut the fuck up. I got some quick clot.
Yeah, this is gonna suck.
And he's like, he's like, hey, if I die here or whatever, the thing is buried here, get that to the CIA, and that should... we should have enough information to clear everybody's name. He's like, and even you, yeah, and me, and then I'll fight my way back to the teams. He's like, brother, look around. Alpha Team there is here. They came here to like, risk. They were willing to die to save your ass. Like, you're part of the team, whether you're, in the team or not. Oh. Oh yeah, but that fucking surprise kill with the tomahawk, I was like, fuck yes. And like when they kind of,
because I mean that is. One of those things, that are just in the book, that and it's such savagery. Like, I mean, there's no fucking pretty way. Like, if you're going in and like, that's your options, the fucking tomahawk, you know, whoever's on the receiving of that's having a bad fucking day.
And I like when they get the the group back together of like Mo, Landry, and yeah, and Landry's like, yeah, you good thing you got your swim buddies to bail you out, and our good thing she called your swim buddies to bail you out. And she's like, I didn't do that, and looks over at Mo, and Mo's like, well, the plan said me and Landry had to stand down. You didn't say anything about Reese.
Motherfucking frogmen.
Oh, then yeah, you got that kind of montage of them killing all the, doing their own kind of terminal list thing and killing all the other motherfuckers that was involved in this whole setup. And and Ben saves homeboy for himself, but he doesn't kill him. He's like, just kind of like, and he's like, yeah, here's all the evidence. So this whole like kind of gets like, why'd you do it? Because they couldn't find any money involved, and he gives them the whole speech about trying to like take out Iran, and he's like, well, here's all the evidence of what you did. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to make sure you go to prison and can have to ruin your legacy that you worked so hard on. And he pieces out as the cops are arriving to arrest homeboy, but then he goes straight to the CIA and he's like, hey, need to talk to the director. Got some toys here for you. And then you cut to him like building that boat that you see in the terminal list.
Yeah.
And dude shows up, some old buddy of his. He's like, hey man, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I work for the CIA now in ground branch. And he's like, I'm done with the CIA, man. And he's like, yeah, but the guy I work for is a pretty good dude. His name's Vic Rodriguez. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Rodriguez. And he's like, he's ex Green Beret, dude's a pretty solid dude. Like it's different these days. Like come work for us. And he's like, what else you gonna do? Sail around the world doing doing random acts of good, or no, walk around the world doing random acts of good. He's like, actually, I'm gonna be sailing around the world. But yeah, at the end you get him like going through the hiring process of the CIA, and kind of ends with him going to the intel because he's a guy who's got to have a war to fight, but he's a lot more cynical than he was at the start of all this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I just think that this story did a great job of one, showing the different levels of fucking corruption, but then two, just in addition to all the action, the shit that's happening back home in people's personal lives and shit like that, and how, that's influencing thought process, and, you're just like, just really puts in perspective, like, no, this is a fucking warrior. Like,
yeah, he's like, I don't know how to retire. I've got to have a war, whether it's an actual working for the teams, or working in as a contractor. But yeah, I'm trying to find that girl's name instead of calling her the the Mossad lady, because I remembered Val. I can't remember the is Eliza? I think it is the other one. You have Tal and Eliza. Yeah, and that gear up where he's kind of thinks he's going out. He sends his wife the divorce, signed divorce papers, and he's like, "Hey, sorry, I never made it home," and because she leaves him, part of the way through this mission, and and he calls to say goodbye to Reese. But yeah, Robert Wisdom, that's a cool name too. That's the actor who played Jed Haverford. I feel like I've seen him in other things, but I can't think of the top of my head, what it is. But yeah, he played a good.
I mean, dude, it started out like, when we first get introduced, and it's like, fuck yeah, cigars, bourbon, my man. And then it's like, oh, but you're a piece of shit.
I like that one part where he's like talking to Rafe, and because he smokes these little cigarellos, and we know Rafe and the boys like cigars, and he's like, hey, you want one of these? He's like, nah, I prefer a adult size cigar, or like a man size cigar. Not those little things you got there.
And there's something about being in a fucking boardroom. Like, he's like, oh, I'm just going to have my, final cigar. Really? You're going to, fucking oust me now? And,
yeah. They're having the meet, and he's like, goes to light up, and he's like, there's no smoking in here. He's like, it's my last day. What are you going to do? Fire me for smoking in the... He's like, I'm already retiring. Getting too old for this shit, Riggs. So, as we're kind of bringing this into a landing, favorite gunfight?
Oh, man.
Because for me, there's two really good ones that I didn't even mention the other one because we're talking about the retreat from the ambush when they were stealing the things.
Well, like that's one of them for me. But kind of that final one, like
yeah, the lone gunfight. Until the SEALs show up.
Well, I mean,
pretty bad
and even when the SEALs show up.
Yeah, that whole like
that whole
moving.
Yeah,
that's like legit team tactics there. I was like, the attention to detail was fucking awesome in that fight.
That to me, I was just like, when I was talking earlier about that smooth as fast, and you're just seeing that shit in motion, and it wasn't just. I don't know, like when I read these books and everything else, like it's not just. It doesn't come off as just fucking nonfiction Hollywood magic type shit, like there's a level of legitimacy there that I'm just like dude, it's hard enough the
realism they put in it is appreciated.
As an individual training and everything versus like, all right, well, now we need all you individuals to be on this same page and move as one unit. And dude, like the fucking retreat from the Germans.
And you got a lot of the cast are actual like former military dudes. I mean, you got Jack doing most of the writing, but Jared Shaw, SEAL himself, and doing a lot of the like technical advising as well. It's like seeing that like real world skills but applied to Hollywood.
Another one for awesome. Me though that we didn't talk about, I think, is when they fucking bust through the damn ISIS checkpoint.
Oh yeah, when they're that was pretty sweet. But the one for me, like I liked the plane, but it really wasn't a gunfight. That was a fucking execution. Like I said, that final fight scene was awesome. But the one we didn't talk about was when he meets back up with Tal after she stole the bearings from him, and he doesn't trust her, and then they get ambushed by the Qud Force guys that they somehow still know where they're at, and them having to fight their way out of that hotel and get away with him like not really trusting her, and that was a badass fight.
And then kind of
eventually just having
forcing to be like, look, we got to settle our differences because I guess an enemy of my enemy is a friend type deal. Like,
yeah, don't shoot me in the back again because we are fucked. It's gonna take us both to get out of here. Yeah, that was a badass gunfight too. That is like running hotel battle.
So if ever you find yourself in a tunnel and lady mysteriously just decides to kiss you out of the blue, just know there's a fucking hidden agenda there.
Don't make out in the tunnels. You're going to get sniped. Oh,
Just a coincidence you managed to get yourself turned around and, oh, there's a security guard down here. What a coinky dink.
we gotta make out for cover. There might be somebody else watching. We should make out some more. Oh.
But that was an interesting dynamic to see, like, they're on again, off again, progression. Like,
Yeah, them. He's like, oh, she's a hot chick that likes guns and motorcycles. What's up, babe?
yeah.
Yeah, you can ride on this motorcycle with me. Oh,
But I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons that Dark Wolf, like, one, it all felt fresh because we didn't have something that we're trying to, like, oh, is this going to follow the book? Or
Yeah.
oh, wait, they changed that arc. And
oh, and we didn't talk about one of the best jokes in the thing is like when when Reese's team shows up to relieve their team, and he's training the Iraqi forces. He's like, "That's a big talk for a man who looks like Bigfoot's dick." and then when they're after he gets kicked out and they're getting ready to leave and he's saying goodbye to Reese, he hands him like an envelope, and on it he's drawn like Bigfoot with this huge dick, and he's like, "That's accurate. That's to scale."
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, dude, just all around, I don't know. I don't know what, like we were talking about earlier, do we get a Dark Wolf, season 2? Do we,
Yeah, we get the further adventures of Ben as a CIA operative, or do we see like kind of the how he gets roped into this conspiracy
But
sets
in
up
a
the
lot of
team?
ways, I hope we kind of do. Like, it was great seeing, I think Terminal List, as it progresses and there's characters there that, we get familiar with and we'll be able to, see them. But, I would love this to just, hey, this is a way that, everybody can kind of get individual exposure for longer time than, what we're just going to see, fucking Chris Pratt, murking dudes.
Yeah, and I like how it kind of started too at a funeral, and I'm not sure if it was one of the funerals for Reese's team or if it was the funeral for his wife, but you see Ben sitting there and it kind of, he's doing like a little bit of a voiceover and he's like, yeah, this is my story. And then it kind of cuts back to the like the beginning of this.
Because, like, to get more of Wraith's backstory and everything else, like, Wraith is a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
And, like, so, I don't know, like, do kind of each of our main characters, do we kind of get, like, a prequel, like...
I think because Jack is kind of in the books kind of giving Reese a break, and we got Cry Havoc coming out in the next couple weeks, which is a kind of a story about Reese's dad in Vietnam. But he said he may like do some kind of like spin-off series with like a Rafe centric book, like or maybe even his dad back in the day. So yeah, that could also be some other series that they do. So what do you think of this here Goat cigar as we close this out?
I mean, it's just too fucking cliche, Joe. Like,
It's the Goat.
have I had better cigars? Yes. Is this a really great and excellent cigar like most shit that AJ Fernandez does? Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Very chocolatey, decent amount of strength, and even like a little bit of a, I don't know, toasted coconut.
yeah,
With
I
that
mean,
chocolate.
I'm getting
See, now that I'm doing more cigar reviews, it's like I'm actually learning
starting
how
to, like,
describe
pick up
flavor
and-
profiles. Instead of just, good, like.
But, I do like it because in addition to some of the chocolate notes and stuff that you were talking about, there is a little bit of a mix of black pepper in there, and it's
like a Mexican San Andreas wrapper.
and it's actually got a decent complexity to it, and
Yeah, 'cause I used to be just a straight Maduro, like Maduro broadleaf fan for most of my cigars. It's got that kind of sweetness to it. But the fucking Mexican San Andreas, it's got that sweetness plus like the peppery spice. And so yeah, most of my favorite cigars now are Mexican San Andreas
and that's
wrappers.
that's one contrast that I love. I think that's probably one of the reasons that our previous cigar from Outcast, kind of struck a chord with me because I'm like, ooh, there it is. It's got that sweet. It's got that spice. But
yeah, I do like a sweet and a spice
fucking,
together.
AJ's done it again though. So
Fucker don't miss.
I don't know how available these will be at most shops, but if you find the goat, keep an eye out for it. It is definitely on the recommend list. And with that, we need to play some metal.
Metal. And that's all we got for you this week. Stay tuned for some science. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Check us out on cigarnerdpodcast.com and on the ESO Network, esonetwork.com. And don't forget, smoke them if you got them. Like, comment, and subscribe.